Good evening. This is the regular session of the Civil Service Commission. Today is Monday, February 7th, 2022. It is 5:30 p.m. and we are meeting via Zoom. And would you like me to do roll call?
Sure.
Okay. Commission members Jennifer Graham.
Present.
Kay Gojkovic.
Present.
Ginger Ryan.
Present.
And Mary Gomez.
Present.
And Joni Giacomino excused. Okay, so that's roll call. And so agenda item number 1 was roll call. And agenda item number 2 was just a moment for welcome and introductions to our new commission member, Mary Gomez.
Thank you for the opportunity. And I've worked with all 3 of these beautiful ladies, so I don't think there's much in need of introduction.
Okay.
Welcome, Mary. We're grateful to
Yes.
have you serving once again.
Yes. Thank you
Another
for your
place in
service.
your community.
Thanks.
Definitely.
Okay. And agenda item number 3, appointment of officers.
I'll go ahead and chat about this one.
Thank you.
Okay. Back in the day when we had a full Civil Service Commission, we appointed officers, and our chair was Steve Pocken. I was appointed as the vice chair, and then Steve went and got another gig. And what can I say? And so since that time, I've been kind of serving as chair, or whatever it's called. I forget, Joelle, but I thought it would be an opportunity to kind of formalize the process and see who might want to step up or who would like to nominate. And so that's my story.
Are there other officers that are needed, or is just that the one, the chairperson and vice chair, are those the only 2?
I'll defer to Joelle on that one. I've deleted that data.
That previously with Mr. Pocken as the chair and Jennifer Graham as vice chair. I'm flipping, I've got charter open real quick to see if it.
And we still need to find another person.
Yes. Okay. So yes, we have officers, and this is in Article 4, Section 1 of the bylaws of the Civil Service Commission. The Civil Service Commission shall choose from among its members a chairperson who shall serve for 2 years and until the election of a successor, and who may stand for re-election. Section 2, the Civil Service Commission shall choose from among its members a vice chairperson who shall serve for 2 years and until the election of a successor, and who may stand for re-election. And then it just goes on to chairperson or vice chair and who serves for special meetings. So those are the 2 positions I see there.
I nominate Jennifer. Oh, excuse me. I nominate Jennifer Graham to be chairperson.
And I second it.
Poor Jennifer.
It's okay. I would be honored to serve in that role. I so previously. And Joelle, do you want to call for? I'm not going to vote though.
Huh?
I'm not going to vote.
Okay, so all those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Jennifer Graham is the chairperson.
And I move to elect Kay Goikovich as vice chair.
I second.
So now that I'm chair, I'll just take over the meeting for you there, Joelle.
Thank you.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Kay,
Thank you.
team. We know you're good at finding commission members, so see what that gets to you. Next on our agenda is review market analysis completed with Arizona League survey study for 2021. Do I hear a motion?
What is the motion?
For discussion? I guess that wouldn't that be a motion to discuss, or can we just go right into discussion?
I think according to Robert's rules, we can just discuss.
Okay, well, let's chat about this.
Can I comment that I am absolutely appalled at what we pay firefighters and police? I mean, I'm shocked. It's almost minimum wage hourly.
It is minimum wage for our firefighter EMT positions. The one thing you have to take into consideration with that pay rate is that due to their shifts and working 24-hour shifts, a typical 40-hour-a-week employee, their hourly rate is calculated on 2,080 hours a year. Our firefighters, due to the FLSA and those requirements, their hours are calculated on 2,912 hours a year, which actually, despite the discrepancy in hourly rate, the police officer and firefighter EMT are neck and neck as far as salary. So that's just the only disclaimer I like to put out there, because that can be very confusing and look a lot worse. Yeah.
And I concur, Ginger, that and this is why we can't keep people.
Mhm.
Right. And those are the people that save our lives and our homes. And, you know, becoming an EMT is a big deal. That's not something you do casually. Perhaps they should be salaried. That would not be as attractive if they're being paid a lot of overtime. But I don't know, it just seems ludicrous to me that the pay scale is so low. That's my input.
I totally agree. I was appalled when I saw it. I just couldn't believe that we pay, that's what we pay our public safety folks. You know,
I agree.
I don't know how we can correct that. And I would just have to ask Joelle if I'm out of order, Madam Chairperson.
No, not at all. I think we're pretty casual here.
Because I know that the governor was able to give the state troopers a humongous raise from the American CARES Act. And so my question would be to Joelle and possibly, Steve Palkin, the city manager, why aren't we able to use some of the funds for that? Because I think that's, it's imperative that we need to be able to keep the people that for the fire department and the police department. And at this time right now, I believe both of them are roving doors. We can't keep anybody. I think the last time we talked to the chief of police, I think he said that the seniority of their staff is 2 years. That's nothing. I mean, that's absolutely deplorable. But anyway, I'll get off my high horse and we can continue with the meeting. But we need to do something to address this issue.
I agree, and I know that this is a long-standing issue. I suspect it was there when you were on the force as well, Kay.
Absolutely, absolutely.
What I would like to find out from Joelle is how she put together the recommended analysis.
We had, the last time a market analysis was completed that I could locate and find was in 2005. And one of the comments I hear pretty regularly when discussing doing a market analysis, for example, in our employee council, is that in previous times, they pay usually large sums of money to have an outside corporation complete this market analysis. And the result is you're underpaid, but we can't make any changes. And so it feels from the employee's point of view, well, we can spend the money to, have this survey done, but then we can't do anything with it. So rather than look to have another market analysis done, I referenced the documents from 2005, which gave me the survey comparators, 17 cities within state of Arizona. I also used the data from the Arizona League 2021 salary survey, which also there are a few, again, because we were looking at 2021, I can let you know that firefighter, EMT, as well as police officer are both right around $37,000, $38,000 annually. There was a change there with that firefighter EMT over the year, and that was due to the minimum wage increase. So again, I really just used the guidelines that were used in 2005 and input the updated numbers. I did also review it with the finance director, Carrie Bagley, to make sure I was on track with that. So.
With all due respect, and you work very hard, and I understand this is material you have to work with. That was 17 years ago. I mean, you can work at McDonald's and make this kind of money.
Yes.
They qualify for access. Anyway. Okay.
Oh, Mary, you're muted.
I muted myself. So as a civil service commission, could we make a formal recommendation to the city manager or to the city council that what is our authority? Do we make a recommendation that, salaries be increased? Is it as simple as that? Or what is our role here?
And I add, what's your goal for tonight? I know it just says review. Are you looking for a recommendation from the commission, or what is our goal here?
With the information to discuss regarding the market analysis, that data was used when I was moving forward to our next agenda item, which is updating those job descriptions. And what it was doing is confirming those rates. For example, police officer, making the starting rate for that position $18 an hour. Again, it's been a number of years since that's been updated, but I at least wanted to take the steps to get some of these minimum or start rates updated and brought more current with, current finances and minimum wage and things of that nature.
May I do a check for understanding, please? When you perform this market analysis, what I understand you to say is the salary survey that was done by an outside organization in 2005. They took 17 comparators. Now, I know at the county, we use 5 comparators. So we take counties that have similar populations to ours, and we compare ourselves against those to get our figures. So you looked at the Arizona League of Cities and Towns survey from 2021, which is the most up to date. And you looked at those 17 comparators and then formulated the figures from there. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you.
Would you like me to list the 17 cities that were used in that comparables? No.
In my way of thinking, 17 years ago is for all county employees, for you as well as public safety. How do we do this?
Ginger, the information is from 2021.
Which information?
The salary data that she used to compile that's what she used for the analysis. And the comparators were drawn from that analysis done in 2005. So the information is fairly up to date. As far as the salary data, it's just pretty sad.
Okay, I missed that. I apologize, but I
No
still
worries.
say it's ludicrous.
So, Joelle, one other question on that, the way the firefighters and the police, that it's not based on 2040, it's based on 2900. So if you look at on that sheet number 3, for instance, if you look at the police chief, so there's the current Bisbee pay rate of 72,300. So is that what he's actually making, or do we need to bump it up to the 2,900 hours instead of 2040?
The fire department, with the exception of the chief, fire chief and fire marshal. So the firefighter EMTs, firefighter, paramedic, lieutenants, and captains, their hourly hours for the year is 2,912. They are the only department that has that exception, again, just for those firefighter, lieutenant, and captain positions.
Okay, not for the police, it's just the guys that are on call.
Yes, and
24/7.
the police officers do work a 40-hour-a-week schedule, which that equates to $2,080,
Right,
2,080 hours a year.
right.
And that's the same for the police chief and their sergeants and things of that nature in that department.
So looking at that line, or really any line, we could even look at the clerk line. So the clerk line is 66,352, and the average that you found in those 17 other places is 89,939 in 2021.
Yes,
And so we're 26% below what the 17 other cities that we're being compared to.
yes, that is correct.
Okay. So is there anything that we can do about that? I mean, what as the commission, what could we do to bring this to someone's attention that, we think this needs to be reviewed, not analyzed further, but just look at maybe pick out the highest percentages that we are lower, and make recommendations about those positions, or is that not our role?
Well, my understanding, the Civil Service Commission is a recommending, is that the, recommending body, therefore can recommend items, and I can take those items to city manager, city council if necessary. Example of that is our Police Fire Advisory Commission. They wanted to recommend banning personal use fireworks for that week plus maybe 10 days before and after 4th of July. And so I gathered that data, and they made a recommendation to city council. I took that council action form to council, and then the council made the decision on that and did agree to instate that ban for the personal use fireworks.
So if,
I'm sorry, Ginger.
Go
Go ahead, ma'am, please.
well, so if we make a recommendation, does that mean we have to go position by position and say, we think the city should relook at EMTs, for example, or do we make a recommendation in the whole, in the ecumenical view?
I believe that would be up to, your choice and your decision as a committee, as commission.
And then one recommendation that I would make on this, if this is going to be the document that will serve as our salary data, is not to include 1280, but just insert minimum wage, because otherwise you're going to have to be doing this year after year. In 2023 and beyond, my understanding is minimum wage will be based on inflation and cost of living, unlike the last few years where we've had a set amount where it's been increased. And so as opposed to inserting that specific figure and then having to take it over and over again to the authority that is approving it, Joelle, perhaps just inserting minimum wage.
Thank you. I did make note of that.
Okay. Any further discussion on this document? I know that Joelle has shared with us that approval of upcoming job descriptions includes these salaries. So this will give us an opportunity to vote on these items. Anything else on this review? Hearing none. Moving forward to discussion of updating job descriptions. And first item is establish separate job descriptions for part-time employees. And I would request that Joelle provide us a rationale.
The reason for that rationale is we have positions that sometimes have part-time status and then opportunities to move to full-time status. And it was requested, recommended by the city manager that we start all of our full-time employees who are benefit eligible, things of that nature, that their start is at $15 an hour. And again, that is in best efforts to compete with banks, Target, things of that nature that are now starting employment at $15 an hour. It just really, when you're looking at a full-time employee who, again, they're paying into retirement, they have health benefits, things of that nature, having them any lower than $15 an hour. I mean, minimum wage $12.80 an hour with having to pay retirement medical, things of that nature, where it was just a step in that direction. Also separating those two, the job description, the bulk of it would not change, just that rate. So then also if we have a part-time employee, not benefits eligible, they're at the minimum wage position, it also gives motivation, encouragement for them to work towards a full-time position if one were to become available. Again, reinforcing and, putting our best efforts towards retention.
What is the federal poverty level figure nowadays?
I do not have that data on hand.
Okay, I've been out of that loop for a while, but at $15 an hour, that's an annual salary of $31,200. That's pretty low.
I can get that information. I know that the finance department has that on hand because I believe that is what is used for sewer and garbage.
I'll get my cell and I'll be able to tell.
Yeah, I just looked quickly in my phone, and for individuals for 2021, the federal poverty level is $12,880. And then it's increased by 4,000 or 5,000 for up to a family of 8. The federal poverty level is 44,660.
So
Thank you.
32 is sort of in the middle then.
And Joelle, I just don't see the logic for making job descriptions that are part-time and full-time. It just seems like more work, especially if the only difference is going to be the starting rate of pay. In my experience, you're going to have people that are specifically interested in part-time work. Like all of us here, when I retire, I may be interested in part-time work and have no desire to be a full-timer. So I don't see the logic. I've never worked for an organization that had part-time and full-time job descriptions. It just seems like extra work to me. And that's just me. I mean, I've only worked in 3 organizations in the public sector, the city, the college, and here. And at 0 of them did we have separate job descriptions for part-time and full-time. If you want to have different salary schedules, that makes sense. And due to the fact that, yes, I have to contribute 12.41% to ASR as full-time, that I do not have to do if I'm doing 19.5 or under. It doesn't make sense to me, but that's just me.
And that is exactly why I value and appreciate this commission, because it's an opportunity to get recommendations, insight from the experience that you all have. And so, yes, that is definitely something that, maybe that is something that we look at rather than separating them, just adding a different salary range for full-time versus part-time. And so absolutely, that I do like, that sounds a little easier. Again, I think, my intention is just wanting to get something rolling, wanting to get something started. So I definitely, I think that's a very good suggestion, recommendation, and will make things easier and still will be very clear when a potential employee is looking at our job descriptions.
And the salary range doesn't have to be put on the job description. It could be simply, a code or a letter. That's
Hmm,
organizations I've been in, that's what we've used.
okay.
I have a question is, what are we using now? Are we using job descriptions now to determine the salary of our employees? You know, we want to create something, but what are we using now to have what we have? You know, how did we determine, say, like Mary said, you know, the clerk? Is there an actual job description from that, and then that is the salary is taken from that? So why do we really have to reinvent the wheel? Is I guess is what I'm saying. If we already have those job descriptions.
Yes, so the job descriptions, we have all established for the positions within the city. And on a number of them, they've been updated, say in 2008, 2012, things of that nature. So they have an update when something needs to be changed within the job description. And so yes, on those job descriptions, currently, they all have a salary range. And that is kind of what is referenced. However, some of them even have a starting range at $8.77. So again, wanting to at least get things so that they're at the accurate start rate. So, and potential employee doesn't look and see, well, $8 isn't even minimum wage now. So again, wanting to just make sure that we're putting our best foot forward and addressing those questions and not adding more.
And my recommendation would, as I said, simply put a code that is associated with a specific salary range, PTA or FTA. And then you don't have to change the job description every time minimum wage increases.
Okay. That is excellent. Thank you.
And so that would be my recommendation is, and are we going to move to make a recommendation here, Joelle? Is that what you're looking for?
Absolutely, yes.
Just a recommendation?
Mhm.
Okay.
Recommendations
And should we have a discussion on the $15 an hour as a minimum rate for full-time employees before we move forward? How do you all feel about that? And that's going to be with the exception of firefighters and EMTs, right?
yes. So on the update job description agenda item, I have all the little pieces of it broken out with letters. So we've addressed a number of them right now with just our conversation. I would definitely like to identify and really mark down the recommendation regarding full-time employment starting at $15 an hour, if that's something supported and recommended by the committee.
Well, I move that we recommend the starting salary for full-time employees with the exception of firefighters and EMTs to $15 per hour. And then do you want to include in that motion an increase of all part-time position salary ranges to the current minimum wage?
I second the motion.
Okay, in terms of discussion, when we're excluding firefighters and EMTs, what's happening to their salaries?
On page 2 of the agenda, I do have the fire department broken out as its own item, so we can discuss
Okay, sorry.
discuss the fire department separately, because it is really challenging. They have, we can't, it's challenging to apply the same rules when their shifts and their schedules are so different. So
Yeah.
that's why I separated them there.
Okay.
And then how, tell me about compression. How is this going to, so we bring up the new guy and bring on the new guy or gal at $15 an hour. And then the guy that's been hauling our trash for 15, 20, 30 years, where is he or she? Is he going to be like at the same rate, even though he's got that longevity? Has that been looked at?
It has been looked at within the fire department. I know that over the last 2 years with the minimum wage increasing, that has been a more, I guess, a higher need there in order to, ensure that we are retaining our firefighters, EMTs, and paramedics. I do not have a plan for compression at this time. That can also be something that I can look into. We are at the very beginning of budget. So that's why I wanted to get this going as soon as possible. But no, I do not have a compression plan ready at this time for the other full-time employment.
And that has a tremendous impact on morale. And I know retention is an issue for us all. And if you're going to bring someone in brand spanking new at the same rate,
Right.
Someone that's been there for years and years, what are you going to do for that person?
Yeah.
I know it's hard because the city just doesn't have much money. And sometimes it's a matter of the old doing more with less, which puts a burden on everyone. But just something for consideration.
Mhm.
And any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Right.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
And Joel, do you need a motion saying that we do not recommend having separate job descriptions for full-time and part-time employees, but to, as Jennifer described, possibly have a different, just change the pay scale, not the job description?
I'm really, I think we can if you want to. Again, just because a lot of these are for recommendations, so taking your recommendations verbally and writing notes
Okay.
and then going back afterwards. I think definitely that, some of them are maybe a little more technical that way, but that I don't think is really addressing a specific pay rate or whatnot. It's just a better way to go about putting the information on the job descriptions.
Okay.
And I appreciate Mary's point, especially if it's your manager who is making the recommendation to create different job descriptions. So from my perspective, it's a recommendation to create 2 different salary schedules. Okay, moving on to our next item, discussion of increasing salary ranges for the following positions commensurate with market analysis and current wages. Joelle, do you want to start us off with this?
Yes, over the last 2 years, there has been much effort at budget time to start moving our way towards some of these starting wages that are much more reasonable and in line with where we're seeing. So again, most of our employees are at or above these rates listed. but there are these few items that we have, positions that I have isolated. I would very much like to at least establish that starting rate, either, for deputy city clerk, accountant, $17 an hour. I would like the starting rate to be that. So when we are posting for jobs, when we are saying that, we're at least not using numbers from 10 years ago. Police officer, $18 an hour. And even that is on the very low end. I do believe it's the lowest, not just in the county, but I think even in the state of Arizona. However, at least establishing that starting point. Sergeant, 20. Again, there's some compression taken into account there. Zoning and building inspector, library manager, again, those positions were pretty low. And again, just wanting to at least get them closer to where we'd like to be. I would like to request that we pull mine operations manager. I had to be determined on that range, and I was not able to complete the research and comparables that I wanted to be able to bring with you today to help decide that one. So that one I would like to pull from the conversation. And then the remaining current employees in the positions either meet or exceed that proposed hourly rate. And that is why I do not have all of the job description or job titles listed here.
And so we're looking at starting rate of pay, not salary ranges.
Yes, starting rate of pay. Thank you.
So, Joelle, just looking at this list here, did you look at the market analysis and maybe pick the positions that were the highest percentage lower than the market group? Or are these just positions you're having trouble retaining or recruiting for?
I would probably say all of the above.
Okay.
So, but those are the ones that, like I said, not wanting to take on, everything, and with the employees that those positions, they either meet or exceed that hourly rate. I feel comfortable, perhaps looking at those job descriptions and rate of pay down the line. But I do feel like these positions, yes, are very important to identify and establish, specifically police officer, police sergeant, and then our firefighters, which are then in the next item to discuss.
Well, the other thing I think about when I look at this list is, at first glance, it would seem that the mine operation manager's position doesn't compare on the same level as the others listed, except for the fact that it's revenue generating. Isn't the mine one of the few revenue producing? Yeah. So
Yes.
it changes things.
Yeah.
And I have to be very careful with this, as some of you know, or I'm going to disclose right now, my brother is Queen Mine Tour Manager. And it is one of few enterprise funds in the city of Bisbee. And it is a skill set that is so unique that the day my brother leaves, it's going to be a sad day, because it's not just about stocking the gift shop. It's about going in the mine every day and reading the rock and shoring up the timber and doing all the things an underground miner does, and stock the gift shop with things that'll sell. And so I appreciate your efforts in getting this one right. So, because I would have to recuse myself anyway if we that in the discussion. But the fact that it's an enterprise fund, I think is a good point, Ginger, for city staff to take into consideration when they are determining what the salary range is for it, because I mean, what else do we have? Sewer and garbage? And are there other enterprise funds I'm missing out?
I can't think of them. So Doug is your brother?
That is correct. He's my baby brother. And we got another one like him at home. He's a twin. And so I'm very proud of what he does. He's done a great job with that up there, even through the pandemic. So visit the gift shop if you're looking for any gift from 25 cents to $2,500. I'll be quiet now.
Well, I agree with everything that you're saying, Jennifer, and he's not my brother, but it's all very accurate what you're describing. And so,
Well,
Joelle, how much trouble would we create for you, for instance, if we said on police officer $18 an hour? What if we said our recommendation is that would be $19 an hour? Or police sergeant, instead of $20 an hour, it'd be $21 an hour. How are we creating problems for you?
No, not at all. I mean, and it's not problems. I mean, this is your recommendation. This is, a committee that's in the charter. And so therefore, the purpose is for me to take your recommendations to city manager, to city council, and proceed in any fashion that you see fit. That really is, not, and I really have no problem if it is work that's going to benefit the employees that we have. Absolutely. I mean, that is, I have more priorities, but I'm sorry, that is a very big priority because our employees are really great. We have such a huge amount of this, institutional knowledge, and it just, anytime we lose an employee, it's like they are taking knowledge with them. And I just hate to see that happen.
I have a comment, if I may. I agree with Mary totally, except for the police sergeant. The police sergeant has tremendous amount of responsibility. And so if we go to 21, why not 25? Because, they're doing extra work. Their responsibilities are higher than the police officer. And I just would hate to see say even a 19 to 21, a $2 difference. I just don't think that's appropriate. I think if we're going to go that way, I think at least $25 an hour because of his responsibilities and his training that he has to, obtain to become a sergeant. I think that a mere $21 is not enough. If we're going to make that kind of a recommendation to Joelle.
So should it be police sergeant 25 and police officer 20? Or do you think police officer 19 is okay?
I think it's absolutely adequate, or 20 is even adequate.
Only
20 and 25?
Yeah, the only comment I will make is I'm pretty sure, and I'd have to double check the number, recently Tombstone increased their deputies, sheriff, Tombstone sheriff, yeah. Marshals, thank you. Their marshals at 19 plus. And so again, we're looking at probably our closest competitor, not identical, of course, but again, we're below Tombstone as well. So I can verify that number for you, but yes, just to let you know, we are again the lowest there. And that is why we have the high turnover, unfortunately, in the police department is because, I mean, 10 miles down the road, it's a big difference.
And 10 miles down the road, they're probably not getting the same benefits package. One needs to consider total compensation as well. I don't know how rich the benefits are at the city of Tombstone. And your closest competitor is going to be me. And
Yes.
definitely so. And I am not opposed to recommending higher rates than what has come out of your analysis. And at the same time, I know what is going to be considered is what kind of impact is this going to have on our PSPRS. Also, if we up it that much, are we still going to have the same number of people that we can employ? And so I recall very well from my 13 years at the city of Bisbee, it is a great balancing act. Mm-hmm. And we just have to consider that if we up these a significant amount, and I'm not opposed to it, I know they deserve it, but what impact is it going to have if that sergeant's making 25 an hour? Is he going to have that fewer officers that are under him? And yeah, it's just tough. It's a very difficult situation, and I would gladly accept a motion.
Before we do that, Jennifer, let me make this suggestion that in lieu of the recommendations that we have, and I know it's going to be work for Joelle, but can she do a comparison like with Cochise County, Douglas, and the local areas and the 5 entities I think that you spoke about that the county did with comparables? Can she do that and then get back to us before we make a recommendation on that?
I think that's a great idea, is to look at your competition, Joelle, and look specifically at who is in the county, mm-hmm. and come back with revised recommendations on police and sergeant. Now, I know there's somewhat of a sense of urgency due to the fact that the budget process is on the cusp of beginning. Do you want us to go ahead and vote a recommendation on the remaining positions?
Yes, and I will. I wrote the notes for the comparison, so we can schedule a special session. And really, if we're only looking at a few items, hopefully we could keep it, condensed in time. But again, I have no problem, getting that information taken care of and even scheduling a special session so that we can all, review that within good time frame, considering budgets on the way.
I'd appreciate that. And so I would move to approve. I would move to recommend the salary increases for the following positions commensurate with the market analysis and current wages, and that being deputy city clerk, accountant, zoning and building inspector, library manager, and all. I guess that's it, right? Mm-hmm. Do I hear a second?
Second. Did you include the mine manager?
The mine manager, I would like to come back with as well.
Sorry.
That's okay.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion, and you said aye as well, correct, Kay?
Yes.
All right, and then so motion passes, and Joelle will be back with us on police officer, sergeant, and you said you're doing more research on the other position there. Next item, fire department starting salary. And we've got firefighter, EMT, firefighter, paramedic. As I indicated earlier, any position that starts at $12.80, I don't recommend doing a salary schedule with that, but simply using the term minimum wage. That way you already have minimum wage by law. You had to bring them up.
Yes.
And I know we've had some discussion of firefighter wages and the manner in which their hours are calculated, but further discussion on this?
I just wanted to make a suggestion, given the fact that you've requested further comparison with a county and also more local for the police. I think it would be probably the best right now if we do kind of table that and I bring that back. And then when we are sitting down a special session, we are looking at our public safety positions as a whole. And also I can perhaps get some more information with the finance director and see kind of the impact that those changes that we're looking at, or potential changes, the fiscal impact that they would have as well.
I move to table item F, approving or recommending starting wages for our fire department.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes to table that item. And next item, change Deputy Police Chief FLSA status to exempt. I trust this passes the exempt test, Joelle?
Yes. Yes, I mean, this position has direct leadership over staff, and really does, that was just one that really stood out. And also looked and discussed some other positions and whether or not they would fall into that category. But again, definitely the fact that they, the amount of responsibility and leadership over, a staff, that was the reason we wanted to make this change.
I move to recommend that you follow the Fair Labor Standards Act.
Second.
Not to be a smart aleck. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. And so on that note, I don't know that you need to bring future FLSA changes to the commission for recommendation,
Okay.
as you have our authority to follow the federal law.
Okay.
Thank you. And then next item, updates to education, experience, and certification for firefighter EMT and firefighter paramedic job descriptions. Joelle, do you want to address this one?
Yes. The education, experience, and certification requirements for those two positions, one firefighter EMT and one firefighter paramedic, I would have it, I observed and saw that one had, in regards to the fire 1 and 2, I thought for both positions, they should be identical. And the firefighter EMT position did not specify state of Arizona fire 1 and 2. And on the firefighter paramedic, it did. And so my intent was just to keep those items consistent in regards to their firefighting responsibilities. And also it was requested by Acting Chief Richardson to extend that successful completion of fire 1 and 2, given the fact that in addition to that fire 1 and 2, during the probation, there is a pretty intense course that they go through just within the fire department alone. given that Bisbee does have so many unique aspects. And that would just give a little more time there. And also because the city puts on that Fire 1 and 2 course. And so therefore, you know, it would just give a little more time to get that taken care of, to just extend that to 2 years of the hire date. I think, and then the other one was experience. I wanted to just add preferred. 1 year of firefighter and an EMT technician preferred, because again, I mean, sometimes we do take relatively new, they don't have a year of experience at another department, and we want to still be able to offer those candidates an opportunity.
Any discussion? I'd like to make a recommendation on the preferred language. I prefer individuals with 1 year of experience. How do I put it? Preference may be given to individuals with 1 year of experience. That way you're not committing yourself. If you get someone who is not a team player, but has 5 years of experience, but nobody wants to work with them, you're not binding yourself and setting yourself up for a lawsuit for someone who says, hey, you hired him, but you said that was preferred. So preference may be given to individuals with 1 year of experience. Give yourself a little out there.
Thank you very much.
Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, I move to update the education and experience and certification for firefighter, EMT, and firefighter paramedic job descriptions as discussed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. Is that correct? Okay, moving on. Okay, equal opportunity statement and reasonable accommodation statement added to every job description, in addition to the city website, personnel rules and regulations. I'm going to start off this discussion. I gave Joelle a call today, and I'm going to pull a document up on my screen that I suggested she consider. If I can find it here, bear with me. Do you have it, Joelle?
Yes, let me.
Do you mind sharing that?
Oh, you emailed it. Okay, wait a second. Let me jump back over here.
And just let me know when Kay's back.
Okay. Okay. I don't think I've ever shared a screen, so let me try this.
Okay, you know, the share screen symbol down below.
Yes, and then
it'll ask you which screen you want to share. Or it should.
oh, there we go. Okay, here we go. Thank you. share. Okay.
Okay, and I'm gonna wait until Kay returns.
Okay.
Would you scroll your screen down a little bit so we can see the bottom of that document? Thank you.
There we go. Yeah. Yes. No, you're fine. I was trying to share screen, so it was.
Okay, and so I reached out to Joelle, the proposed language for the job descriptions. It's a lot of words. And so I have not seen a job description for a while. So I recommended that, so to start with, let me start with EEOC. Okay, we already have a policy on EEOC in the city of Bisbee. And so simply adding the statement, city of Bisbee is an equal employment opportunity employer, that covers it.
Yep.
Okay.
We don't need a paragraph. That was my recommendation there. And then my recommendation on the reasonable accommodation is to make sure, and I don't know if you've had a chance to look at your job descriptions, Joelle, if it includes this kind of disclaimer for essential functions, because reasonable accommodations are provided for individuals that can perform the essential functions with or without an accommodation. And so on all of our job descriptions, I have, as defined under ADA, that this list is illustrative only and it's not comprehensive, but it denotes that these are the essential functions. Therefore, at the bottom of our job descriptions, and I'll show you an example here in a moment, just placing this statement here, reasonable accommodations will be made for those able to perform the essential functions of the job with or without accommodation. Far more simple than adding a paragraph.
Right.
In addition, the paragraph below, I have added at my last two employers to the application affirmation. It's, hey, I promise to tell the truth. You can talk to my previous employers and all that kind of stuff. I'm being honest. And so at the very bottom, it has this statement that I understand federal law requires employers to provide a reasonable accommodation to qualified individuals with disabilities. And so this tells the individual, pardon me, how they can make an accommodation request when they are applying for a position. Now, I don't think that the FMLA policy goes into accommodations. It really shouldn't, but oftentimes an FMLA situation can lead to a request for an accommodation. And so I think as long as employees are aware that reasonable accommodations will be considered, then they know to reach out to HR, right? Or maybe throwing in a line at the bottom of the job description, you know, with that reasonable accommodation section by contacting human resources or whatever. And so as opposed to adding a whole lot to job descriptions,
Right.
that is how I've handled this for my last couple employers. And I'd be happy to share a screen with you and show you an example of how it looks on a job description.
So I stopped sharing my screen.
Sure.
Okay.
And so you can see here is a job description. Here I have my essential functions statement right above my typical duties. And so it's saying this is illustrative only. And then of course, we always have related duties as assigned. And then over here at the bottom in bold and kind of slanted to make everything stand out, informing the individuals who perform this position or who are seeking this position, reasonable accommodations will be made. And then right underneath that, the fact that we are an equal opportunity and equal employment opportunity employer. And so you just have to go to our website, see our policy. It's federal law. I don't know that you need a whole paragraph, Joelle. That's just me. I try to keep it simple. So that's my 5 cents. Because I'm too wordy.
No, it's worth much more than 5 cents. But thank you very much for the kind of the guidance and point in a better direction. So definitely
it's a little bit more concise, not better, yes. But
yeah. So and so I
should always be on your website, and it's already in personnel rules.
Yes. So, and I plan to move forward with your recommendations.
Does any discussion on that? Okay, and so change the longevity plan to set dollars from percentages. So what you are requesting is changing the policy. Is that
essentially? Yes.
Changing the policy, is that what you said, Jennifer?
That's my understanding, because the current longevity plan is in policy.
Yes, that is correct.
So discussion on this. Do you want to tell us the thinking behind this, Joelle?
My thinking behind it stems from not just longevity, but even when we're looking at something along the lines of COLA increase. When we're looking at cost of goods, a gallon of milk, the percentage based on salary can be much more for, say, a director level employee versus one of our, someone in streets or parks. And so again, it was something I was kind of toying with and wanted to see what it looked like. And while it's not a large increase, I do also think that, it's a little something. We can, again, keep trying to move in a positive direction there. And for the most part, just that change from, 2% to a flat rate of 50 cents at 5 years, it does make a nice little difference for our employees. And I did the comparison for 3 years, what it would have been in 2021, 2022, and what we're looking forward to with 2023. And again, another thought process of mine was, I think sometimes if we're not necessarily accountants or do this on a regular basis, 2% is not a tangible number. With a calculator, yes, but 50 cents is 50 cents. And if I work 10 hours a day, I guess I just was trying to look at maybe an option where it may even seem, well, I mean, it is actually a slight increase for most employees. But also to give that feel of, that's something tangible. That's something I can hold on to. If I'm here for 15 years, I'm going to get $1 an hour raise, $1 an hour. Like that to me clicks, I think a little bit better than 4%. So that was just my personal thoughts behind it. And then again, really just trying to do something that would give a little more of a benefit or a little more encouragement in regards to the longevity. Oh, yes.
No,
That one. Oh.
So how, I guess my question is, so in 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, we're gonna come back and change the amount?
I don't know. I mean, okay, so the point you're making is in regards to compression then.
Well, and I guess I would have preferred to see it in the policy itself, redlined, doing
Oh.
track changes. Because I guess I can't really wrap my brain around it if it's really. So
Okay.
are you just taking the average amount of everyone and then figuring out the amount to give from there?
I was changing each of the steps. So 5 years, 50 cents, 10 years, 75 cents, 15 years, $1, 20 years, $1.50, and 25 years, $2.
So Joelle, in your policy that you gave us a copy of, the section 13B,
Mm-hmm.
so if you looked at number 1, it would say upon completion of 5 years of continuous employment, an increase of 50 cents per hour will be added to the employee's
Mhm.
hourly pay.
I am more than willing to bring this back redlined. I just didn't connect that that would be the best way to present this. So there was a lot of info on this one. So definitely. So I do really, if we would like to kind of wait and bring this back at that special session too, where I can properly redline it. I think that might, if that's agreeable, I'm more than willing to do so.
Because I don't see 50 cents anywhere on here. I see 75 cents on your tables, but I don't see 50 cents.
There is I had sent out an additional table because the one that was in the original packet was, there was an error.
Okay,
So
I'm sorry, I missed that.
there's this one, it's much smaller and it's a front and back. That was supposed to be. So again, that's probably another reason to bring it back because of the confusion.
And Joelle, would
I just
the,
want to make sure it's not going to screw the little guy.
yeah,
No, actually, it's not screwing the little guy. The two positions when I did this scenario for the employees that would be getting longevity in 2023, it actually hurts the upper level, which is the directors. So it would be a loss of $178 for the person reaching 25 years of longevity. Also that 10 years, there is a spot there where yes, it would be less. Taking into consideration, those are both director level positions. I think, consideration or individual decision can be made by the city manager to address those. But yes, as far as the I did not see any other positions or situations where it would be a lower amount than the percent that's currently in the policy.
And Mary, I apologize, I took over you.
Oh, no, that's okay. I was just gonna ask about so after 5 years, the person gets 50 cents more an hour. Then when they reach 6 years, do they get another 50 cents? Do they get 50 cents more an hour until they get to 10 and then?
No, the current longevity pay plan, you get an increase at the 5-year mark, 10-year mark, 15, 20, and 25. So it's just those 5 milestones.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
thanks.
it's not every year, it's just those milestones.
Further discussion? I'd like to know how this is going to impact those that are like on the cusp of getting their, 4% or 5% that they've been looking forward to. That concerns me.
Okay. I would be more than happy to come back with this, perhaps with a little more detailed information and red line on the policy. So that might be able to help decision-making a little clearer.
And then the fiscal impact, I know you've given us the totals there, and I appreciate that. And this does not impact the PTO increases that transpire at those.
No.
Okay, because also employees get increases in their PTO at certain levels of service.
Yes.
I move that we table this item and bring it back with the policy out showing the amendments.
Yes.
I'll second that.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
I
Motion passes unanimously. And as a side note, that's how I would like all policy changes to come before this body. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's time for us to make comments. Are we ready to go to bed now or go home? Have
Well,
dinner?
certainly not for discussion tonight, but just food for thought at some point down the road. Have we ever talked about merit increases instead of longevity increases? Is that something that the city's considered before, but maybe put that out there as food for future thought?
Thank you, Mary.
That was gonna be my question on merit.
Ginger, any comments?
No, thank you.
Okay. Do you have anything else to report, Joelle?
No, nothing else to report. Just thank you very much for the guidance and recommendations and suggestions. I appreciate all of that. So thank you very much.
And so we don't need a motion. We can just adjourn, right?
Okay.
It's nice to see you all.
Thanks,
you all for your
everybody.
service,
Yeah.
and continue to look out for another member for us so we can
Okay.
thrive. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.